Let's see how well the old girl starts without keys, which is a bit stupid. Okay, key. Too many keys. God damn it, too many keys. Haha! It's the green key. It's a green car, so the key should be. Ciao, I'm Mario, a Swiss car guy on YouTube, and today is a bit of an international episode because I am a Swiss car guy, and today I am in Italy, where it's definitely a lot warmer than in Switzerland right now, and I will be driving a French car. And not just any French car, but a classic French car. Oh yes, you see, because this is a 1989 Renault Espace, first generation facelift model. The facelift happened in 1987, the first Renault Espace came out in 1984. And yes, this is a classic car. Because in Italy, I think a car needs to be 30 years old to be a classic car, and this car qualifies being 32 years old at the time of filming. And this is also to show a bit the difference between Italy and Switzerland, because I think in Italy, when a car has to do its periodic inspection, I think the inspectors are a bit more laid back than they would be in Switzerland, because in Switzerland, a car like this would have a really hard time to be classified as a classic car. Because for once, the condition is not exactly mint. So the car has a few, traces, a few scars, a bit of wear and tear. But it's obviously also not that clean, because in the south of Italy, where I am right now, cars are kind of seen as a means to do something, a means of transportation, and the people, they do not care for their cars that much. Therefore, it's not been cleaned very often. I know this car has been cleaned in its history, but certainly not as often as, one of us car guys would actually do it. This car belongs to my uncle. My uncle has owned this car since, I think, the mid-90s. So it's been like 25 years that he's had this car. But this is not his main Renault Espace, because he's also got the fourth generation Renault Espace. His newer Espace, which by now is also 20 years old. Now, you might ask, what is the point of having two Renault Espace? That's the same question I asked about 20 years ago. And to my uncle, it's very obvious. He can use his car to haul wood, to transport large and heavy and dirty stuff, and have the other car to do long distance travel. And I remember distinctly that once, about 20 years ago, maybe even a bit more, we transported a Vespa in the back of this car. So the car has been used and still is being used as a van. Also, this car, being a classic car, is exempt from tax, which means the only thing you have to pay each year is the insurance. And on this car, it's 280 euros a year. So my uncle can keep this car for 280 euros a year. And why not keep a spare car for that money? I mean, sure, if something breaks, he might want to fix it, but if something major breaks, he'll probably just trash the car, so who cares? And here in the south of Italy, space is not an issue because, well, my uncle has plenty of garages, but up here we are at my grandparents' old house, and this house has, let's say it has a garage and it has a granary, which is now being used as a garage because nobody stores grain anymore. And this house has basically been abandoned, like many houses up here in this region, because people moved abroad. People moved to the town, and nobody wants to live alone out here in the country. Therefore, you have lots of basically abandoned houses, lots of storage where you can store cars, which is quite ironic, because in Switzerland I cannot afford to buy a house, and here our family owns houses that nobody uses and or wants. So what you gonna do, right? But let me take you around the car. Obviously the paint is not exactly in great shape, but this car is 32 years old and it spent a lot of time outside. The body has a few scratches, but it doesn't have many dents because Renault Espaces are, or at least they used to be, fiberglass bodied cars. The party piece of the Espace clearly is the large trunk. In this case, it's been decked out with cardboard and plastic because this car transports nasty stuff. But still, it is quite large, and in fact I can go inside. And you can take the seats out and then create even more space. This car, by the way, was a 7-seater, so somewhere there are more seats. Very important, the very large advertising for the local Renault dealership, which are longtime family friends and the reason why my uncle has been driving Renault for over 30 years. Here you can see the folded seats and, stuff that you use in the car, because this is a work car now. In 1989, this was actually quite a fancy car, because as you can see, the car has like a fancy stereo, it had air conditioning, it doesn't work anymore, it has electric windows for driver and passenger, it had central locking, so this is a fairly well-equipped car for the end of the 80s in Italy. Also, this car has not one, but 2 sunroofs. And judging by the stupid motorway sticker, this car has been in Switzerland in 2004 for the last time. The engine is a 2.1-liter turbo diesel with an intercooler. It's none of those direct injection thing, this is a pre-chamber diesel. It produces an impressive 88 horsepower. And it does 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in about 13.5 seconds. This, mind you, when the car was new. Okay, let's see how well the old girl starts. Pre-glow, pre-glow, pre-glow. And now. Clearly a diesel. Clearly makes some noise, but hey. Lights on. In gear. Let's go. Man, this is a tractor, I tell you. Speed bump. Nah, not too bad. It has a bit of an exhaust leak, I think. Also, please excuse the noise, but since this car's AC is broken, and I think it has been broken for maybe 20 years, I'm driving with the windows open because it's a warm day. It's not as warm as it used to be, but still, it is warm. Oh, the brakes. Ooh, the brakes are not awesome. I'm now in 3rd gear and I'm flooring the car and I'm doing not even 50 kph. Let's try 2nd gear. It's not actually helping. Handling is adventurous. This is a floaty old thing. And I think nobody can fault it for not having sports car-like handling, because this is a people carrier. This is a car for, I'd say, long distance travel. And therefore you'd want it to be comfortable. And I think even after 30 years, this car, it still is comfortable. I mean, it feels like driving an old marshmallow, because not only is the car very wallowy, but the seat as well. So it feels like I'm sitting on a sponge. And the odometer tells me this car has 207,000 kilometers, but honestly, I'm not sure whether the odometer is still working.
It is. This car has lower mileage than my Lexus.
Ah! Wow, this is scary. The brakes are not that great. I think the last time I drove this car was around 10 years ago, and back then the brakes would not work at all. I mean, they did work, but they would work eventually. Now they work, but they don't give you really a good feeling of working. Okay. I think that this car is wallowy, it's floaty, but even I think it's also a bit broken, because before I steered into a corner and the car didn't really steer until a while later. And yeah, this is not the kind of car you would want to do a long distance with. Ah! What's very interesting about this car is that not only does it have electric windows in the front, it actually has, for the driver, it has an additional button where you can automatically open and close the windows without having to push on the button. Oh wow, that's... So not only is the air conditioning dead in this car, the whole blower motor is not working. This is why I'm gonna die if I don't open the windows. Oh, so much better. I don't know if it's due to age and wear, or if this car was like this when it was new, but I mean the engine, it doesn't feel powerful at all. I reckon that the car, when it was new, it had 88 horsepower, and by now maybe I think the turbo might not be the best anymore, because usually you would expect a bit of torque, a bit of boost. It has a boost gauge, and I don't see anything. Yeah, the boost gauge is not moving and the car is not really producing any power, so I reckon that the turbo has left us a while ago. And without a turbo, I think this might be a 50 horsepower car, something like that. So even flooring it in third gear, it doesn't really do much. Second gear makes the whole thing a bit louder. Oh my god. Also, I'm smelling diesel fumes. Nice. Ugh. Also, very worryingly, I get no oil pressure whatsoever because it has an oil pressure gauge and I don't get anything. Flooring it in second gear. So I think it's not just the gauge that's broken. In this case, I think this car really doesn't have any turbo anymore and doesn't produce any boost. So this is not the car to win any Grand Prix in, but you know, it drives, you can drive around, and honestly, for a car that you just use to haul around heavy and cumbersome stuff, it's 280 euros a year. Why not? If you have the space, keep it. I'm flooring it. Yeah. Oh my god. Flooring it, 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 flooring it. Yeah. The road I'm actually driving right now is quite a nice and scenic road. It's the Strada Statale 276, so it's a main road. And around here it's called Avianova, which is the new road, because it was built, I think, in the early 60s. And to people still around, this was the new road. And it's quite of a nice winding road. Just the tarmac surface has deteriorated over the years and it would need a resurfacing, because it's very nice to drive. Obviously not with this kind of car, but when you have a nice sporty car, these are good roads. So this was the video about my uncle's Renault Espace, a video I've been wanting to do for a long time, but it never came around. Then last year I didn't come to Italy, and I think this car symbolizes the difference between Italy and Switzerland regarding car ownership, because a car like this, I think it would be almost impossible to keep on the road in Switzerland without spending bunches of money, because even though this car is drivable and I think it's okay safety-wise, I think it would have a really hard time passing a safety inspection in Switzerland. And I mean, do you want to put money out for a car like this? How much do you want to spend on it? Because realistically, how much is it worth? I did a quick search in Switzerland and I found that, first off, the oldest Renault Espace you can buy in Switzerland right now is like a 1995, so it's much newer than this one. So these old cars have all but disappeared. And even much newer cars like a fourth generation Espace from 2002, 2004, they start at like 1,000 Swiss francs for running examples. So an even older one, I don't know how much this car would actually be worth. But then again, it would also be nice if somebody were to keep these cars, would maintain them, because I don't know when I've seen one for the last time. I only see them when I come here to Italy. My uncle's car, he still drives it. Even though it's not in the greatest shape, at least you still get to see one of those old cars. And in Switzerland, they have disappeared. Because the thing with classic cars is everybody keeps their Porsches, their Ferraris, their Maseratis, stuff like that. But an old people mover like a Renault Espace, well, these cars, they just don't have the cult following. They also don't have the value. It's not like an exotic sports car. So keeping these cars beyond a certain age is going to become just an exercise in itself, expensive without many returns. Therefore, I'm still happy that in Italy I can drive a car like this. I can still experience it even though it's not in the greatest shape. But what do you think of the Renault Espace, the first generation? Please comment down below and tell me, are there cars where you are that you've never seen anywhere else, or have you seen cars abroad that just aren't around anymore in your place? Please leave a comment down below. Also click like if you like this video, share it with people who might be interested in it. And this is it for this video actually. So thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.